If your child is taking the WISC, the Wechsler Intelligence Scale for Children, let me show you the types of questions that are going to be on this test. Now, the questions given are going to depend on why your child is being tested. So if they're being tested to get into a private school, the private school will dictate the questions that they're going to be asked. Most private schools ask for what's called a primary index scale, which is 10 subtests from the WISC. A few might ask for what's called a full scale index, which is 16 subtests. But that's more unusual. So we're going to focus on the 10 types of questions that are most commonly given to kids taking the WISC. Okay, so we're going very high tech here. I'm going to use paper to help you see the types of questions on the test, starting with the verbal questions. And the first type of question is just a vocabulary question where the child is asked to define what a particular word means. So if they're asked, what is a telescope? What we're looking for is a pretty full definition, not just one or two words, but really explain what it is. It's an instrument that helps you see things better, and people use it to look at the stars that are really far away, and it makes them bigger so you can see them. So you want them to give a more full definition. Similarities, that's the next type of verbal question that you'll see on the WISC. And that's just, how are two things alike? You know, how is 16 like 94? Well, they're both even numbers. How is sweet and sour alike? They're both flavors. So those are verbal questions. And now we're going to look at nonverbal questions and what those are like. Okay, so the first nonverbal questions that you might see are the kids are given blocks and they're shown a picture. The blocks in this case are divided diagonally in different colors, and they're shown a picture of, if you put the blocks together, what pattern they might make. And the child has to look at the picture and then put the blocks together to make that particular pattern. Another nonverbal type question is visual puzzles. And what this is the child is shown a figure on top, and they need to choose 3 figures from the 6 below that, if you put them together, would make the figure on top. So that's what that is. Those are the nonverbal questions. And now we'll look at what we call fluid reasoning questions. Fluid reasoning just means that the child has never seen this before specifically, and they have to think their way through to figure out the answer. And very often it is done with nonverbal type of questions as well. So here what we have is analogies on top. So they have to figure out what the analogous relationship is across the top, like a car to a bicycle, and then a boat to, this looks like almost more like a small ship to one of these. And we're looking for something smaller that's also transportation, but smaller. So it would be the canoe. And on the bottom, it's a figural type of analogy. So that we have to look at what's happening to the picture on top. It goes upside down, the colors change places, and we do the same thing to the figure on the bottom. And that's how we come up with the answer. Then there's figure weights, and this is kind of a quantitative fluid reasoning type question, but they see a scale with some little figures on them, and they're equal, they're balanced, and now we've taken some of those little figures and put them on another scale. Which ones here would we put here to balance the scales? So that is, those are the figure weight types of questions. The next type of question we're going to look at are, let's go to digit span. Those are sort of numeric, and they also require working memory. So here what they do is they will give the child 3 numbers, 6, 4, 3. And if I say 6, 4, 3, can you say them back to me backwards? So the child has to say 3, 4, 6. So they have to remember the numbers and then do something with them. And that is working memory. And then same thing here. If I say 1584, can you say the numbers back to me from the lowest number to the highest number? That uses a child's working memory where they have to hear it, remember it, and then do something with it. Picture span, what they do here is they're shown pictures of 3 items here on top. And they have to look at them, they have to remember them, and then they are shown other pictures of, it's covered up and they're shown other pictures, and they have to say the same pictures they saw before in the same order that they saw them before. So that's picture span, and that's looking at working memory. And then the last types of questions are what's called processing speed questions. And that means how fast can a child work, get their work done, and can they do it accurately? So there are coding type questions, and these are processing speed questions. And they just say, do you look at the key across the top, and every time you see this figure or this figure, you have to draw what is here underneath here, and they have to go in order, and they have to draw that code all along, and they're looking at how many can your child get done and how accurately they can do it in the time that they have. And then we get into symbol search types of questions. And there's different ways that they do it, but essentially they're looking at a symbol right here, and they have to circle it if they see the same symbol, or put a no if they don't see the symbol. And then here, same kind of thing, except there's 2 on the left, and then they have to see if they can find the same 2 here, or no if they don't. So again, how fast can they do it, and how accurately can they do it? So those are the types of questions on the WISC. And of course, Testing Mom has plenty of practice questions for the WISC that will help your child at least understand what they're being asked to do when they take the WISC test.